Okay, wrapping my knuckles on the dais, I now call this meeting of the the Waxahachie Groves Planning and Zoning meeting to order. December 13th, 2012 meeting. May I have a roll call, please?
Yes, Chair Lip,
Here.
Vice Chair Crawford.
Here.
Let the record reflect that Committee Member Corning is not present. Committee Member Harris.
Here.
Committee Member Joyce, let the record reflect that she is not present. Alternate member number 1 Close.
Here.
And let the record reflect that alternate member number 2 Guillen is not present.
So Burns new, right?
Yes.
Someone's coming in late.
Just as a note, the town council at the last meeting appointed Burns Guillaume
Yeah.
as your alternate number 2.
Okay.
And maybe here he is, okay. We just called roll, so we were wondering if you were gonna show.
So Burns is here.
Good, I'm Keith Harris.
How you doing, Burns? How you doing? It's a pleasure. Hey.
All right. We have a fairly short agenda, but important. Town manager, any comments? Or
Yeah, let me, before we jump into, well, you know, let's do the minutes first, Mr. Chair, and then I have some comments before Jim takes over with the report. That's okay.
Okay. Everyone have an opportunity to review the minutes? Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as provided.
I make a motion to accept the minutes.
Robin Crawford places a motion to approve, seconded by Keith. All those in favor, all opposed, minutes are approved unanimously.
Secret ballot.
Without objection, they are approved. Okay. Okay.
Mr. Chair, on old business, one thing I want to mention, the reason why we're here tonight, we have only updates as you can see on the agenda, but the main reason why we had to move forward tonight is because the Valley Crest site plan was continued to this date certain. So we need to at least update, we need to have the meeting and update you on where we're at, and with that, I'll turn it over to Jim.
Okay, thank you, Mark. The Valley Crest site plan was presented to P&Z at the meeting last month, and just in terms of a little bit of history for those that weren't here, the site plan was necessitated as a result of a code enforcement action, but by the town that actually was initiated back in 2008, prior to the time that the town had its own land development code. So the code violation was for operating a use that was not allowed under the Palm Beach County land development regulations at the time, even though the town was incorporated at that time. The county's ULDC land development regulations were the de facto regulations for the town until such time as the town adopted its own code. So the Valley Crest, which is a lawn maintenance operation, was cited as being in violation of the county code, and it was taken to the town's magistrate. The magistrate cited two sections of the county's code that the development was in violation of, and ordered the development to come into compliance with the county's code. A couple of years elapsed because the town had adopted moratoria, which prevented the filing of site plan applications, which this project would have to have received. So The violation became effective in 2008, and the applicant, Valley Crest, could not file an application because of the moratorium and several extensions of the moratorium that the town enacted. So the town finally adopted its own land development regulations in November of 2010. And then the code violation became active, and there was several dealings and delays with the town's code enforcement actions. A site plan was finally filed this past summer in July. We performed a staff review and brought it back to the Planning and Zoning Board at its meeting last month. And there was some concern on the part of the P&Z as to how we were reviewing the project and whether or not we were doing it appropriately, and also whether or not this approval, if it was approved by the council, would create a precedent, because one of the two uses on the property, the lawn maintenance business, is expressly prohibited under the town's current code. So it was staff's opinion that we needed to process the application under the county's land development code that was in effect in 2008, but P&Z was concerned that if we weren't careful in terms of how we processed it, whose land development regulations we used in the review, the towns or the counties, and the process that we used. P&Z wanted to make sure that a precedent wouldn't be set for another landscape maintenance business to come in the future, saying, in effect, well, you approved them, so we're asking you to approve us. So we, on that basis, P&Z continued the site plan petition to this meeting tonight. In the interim, staff went back and prepared a fairly lengthy analysis of the county's code and the town's code, which will become part of the staff report that will be coming to you next month. But I thought that maybe it might be a good idea to hand this out to you so you got a chance to review it, not tonight, just to take it with you, to understand the thought process and the conclusion that the staff came to in terms of what land development regulations to apply and the process that we need to run this through the process, and feel comfortable on your part that we are not doing anything that could create a precedent in the future for a similar business to come through when the town's code currently expressly prohibits it. So, and this is a fairly long report too, and it's rather than include this with the staff report, which I will also next month, I thought that this would give you sort of a heads up in the meantime as to how we are going to be processing it, and the thought process and the codes and regulations behind the reasoning for why we're doing it this way.
I would also add, in that interim period, we had several meetings with the town attorney and the town attorney and the applicant's attorney, so we are making significant progress. Mike will be here at your next meeting as well.
Yeah, and we did have a meeting on the 6th, on December 6th, with town staff, town attorney, the applicant's agent, and also the owner of the property, but phone conferencing. And we did come up with a couple of ideas that are going to be incorporated into a revised development plan. One of the lawn maintenance business that's currently on the site brings in vegetative waste. And there's a large vegetative waste pile on the property now. It's on Okeechobee, just west of
F Road.
F Road. And there was concern about the size of the pile, what was going to be done with the vegetative waste after it was ground, which is what they do, which is what they're doing right now. So one of the items that we discussed with the applicant on the 6th was we asked that they come up with a vegetative waste management plan describing every step of the process from when they bring the vegetative waste on site to the size and dimensions of the pile. How long it can be retained on site, how often they can bring in the grinder to grind the pile, and what's going to be done with the waste after it's ground. That's going to become part of the application, and I think that was one of the big concerns of P&Z that we discussed last month. So that'll be coming, and we also suggested several other changes to the application, which are just pretty much minor details, but that application should be coming back to P&Z at your meeting in January. But like I said, I'll pass these out so that you have an opportunity to understand how we came up with the process that we did.
May I ask you a question? Am I correct in that this is a quasi judicial hearing?
It is.
I'm very uncomfortable about having this discussion.
Well, it's just an update, we're not having any, we're not having.
Yeah, but
any-
we're putting information on the record outside of quasi judicial hearing, and that's what causes me some concern.
Well, town attorney didn't seem to have a problem with it, he indicated we could give this update, so.
Well, then, I would recommend that we not introduce any new information, especially with the applicant not here.
Well, this is going to be part of the application. It's just an explanation of how and why we are going to be reviewing it. And the agent has seen this. The agent for Valley Crest has seen this report. He was given a copy of it at the 6th.
There's nothing controversial about it.
Yeah. It's just the process is very likely unique and it's very complicated because of the fact that the code violations were done at the time when the town didn't have its own code. And the county did, and there's a comparison of the land development regulations in that not to show you this. If we go by the county's land development regulations, they're not too different from the town, so we aren't going to be allowing any activity or any different setbacks or height restrictions that are way out of line with what the town has. So there's no recommendations in there really. It's just an explanation of how we're going to process it. And as I said, the owner's applicant or agent has seen this.
But if other affected parties may not have seen it. I'm not privy to this conversation. That's the only thing I'm concerned about.
Just the, some of the things that came up at the last meeting, is that David Cavello, was that how you pronounce his last name? Coviello, that's right, I forgot it's Italian, you gotta pronounce all the vowels, okay. Is that, just quoting here on page 5, he explained that the applicant was a business owner that bought the property under the county code when the use was permitted. Well, that's likely false. And we discussed that, I believe, at the meeting, because the land use matrix at the time required Board of County Commission approval, and they never got the approval.
Yes.
So it's a stretch to call it permitted, because it's a permitted with BCC approval.
In light of,
That's true.
in light of Member Close's comment, if you want to go ahead and answer that, but I would say after that, we should probably cut off any dialogue as far as the give and take between both of us.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, how you can, I would answer the question and then, you know.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, yes, the lawn maintenance business required county commission approval. The wholesale nursery was an administrative approval by the development review office, by the DRO officer. So it did require approvals, which they did
But
not.
they didn't get either. I mean, you know,
That's true.
it's a, you know, the land use is single family.
Yeah, that's right. And that's really why there was a code violation. Because they didn't have those approvals.
At the last meeting, committee member Joyce asked why it couldn't be a legal non-conforming use. Just, you know, you can do it, but when you move, it's going back to RR5.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that probably is the case. I mean, in my mind, it would be looked at in a similar manner as if it had gotten the approvals back in 2008.
Yeah.
Then that, the landscape maintenance accessory use would be non-conforming use. Wholesale nursery is permitted under the town's code.
Yeah. Now, is there anything in here about proving that it's an accessory use as far as income or anything like that goes, or?
Yes, yeah, there is. That, back when they were trying to make a determination, get an answer from the county in terms of what they could do on property and what approvals that they would have to obtain in order to do that, they wrote a zoning confirmation letter to the county staff. And the county staff came back and said that you can do a retail or wholesale nursery, and you can have a lawn maintenance business as an accessory use to either one. The county also referenced another section in the code that said if, in order to prove that you're an accessory use, less than half of the property in the building square footage, and or less than half of the receipts from the two businesses had to be allocated to the accessory use. But in going back and researching that further, that particular conclusion only relates to businesses in commercial zoning districts. So the county erroneously made that statement because it's in the agricultural residential district. That doesn't apply in residential districts. That's only a condition or a definition of accessory use in commercial zoning districts.
Well, that seems problematic to me.
Yeah, well,
I mean, if somebody's got, here's our plant in a pot or a wholesale nursery. The rest of what we're doing here is accessory use, and it's all trucks and landscapers and cutting grass and bringing in debris. That doesn't make sense to me.
well, yeah,
Because that's basically what you're saying, right?
the bone of contention really, the applicant has no problem with having less less than half of the property.
Yeah,
And
it's
less
just
than,
parking equipment.
less than half of the building square footage be allocated to the accessory use. What he did have an issue with was the receipts generated by the two businesses. The landscape maintenance and landscape service business is going to generate more money than the wholesale nursery. And he's the first one to admit that. And that's why he actually went back and researched that conclusion by the county and found that that was an erroneous statement as it applies to residential zoning districts. Now, the town does have some general language about having less than half of the property, and the county also has some general language about that too. But the specific language that relates to the percentage of business receipts does not apply.
Just to see that as as that setting precedent for any wholesale landscaper, a wholesale nursery
Yeah.
in Montetchi Road.
Yeah, well,
Bringing in an outside company like Botanica up on East G, which is a corporation, I think they're incorporated out of Miami, who has 15 trucks coming in and out of our community every day
yeah.
with
The town,
tons of debris being brought back from wherever they cut limbs from and stacked on this wholesale nursery's property.
yeah, well, if you're talking about projects in the future, the town doesn't address that at all in its ULDC. So that really is only an issue on this project.
Yeah.
Looking at the details of the county's ULDC, it doesn't apply to this property.
But the applicant has still been found under the magistrate's order to be not in compliance and ordered to fix things because it's an illegal, it's a non. It's a use. It's still legal use.
Yeah, that's right, it's an illegal use because it didn't get the approvals
Yeah.
that are necessary to operate, yes.
So, and this is sort of giving us a pathway on how to help them out.
Yeah, that's going through staff's thought process to get to the point as to how we're going to process the application, which hopefully we don't ever have to do again.
Robin, any comments, questions?
Just, my understanding is, we're not gonna come to any conclusion either on the
We're just gonna read, this is just information.
Yeah, that's right. I just wanted you to have this prior to the next meeting, so we hopefully don't have to spend a lot of time on the process again, that we can get down more to the nuts and bolts of the project itself.
Yeah, the requested action tonight would be to continue this again to January 10th.
Keith, any questions?
No.
Burns?
Not right now.
Got some studying to do.
I do.
We all do. Veronica? Okay.
Move to continue to January, what's the date? 10,
January 10th.
2013.
Okay, we were close, offers a motion to continue until January 10th. Is there a second?
Second it?
Robin Crawford, member Crawford seconds. Without objection, motion passes unanimous. Let's move on to new business.
We've got two other items under updates for the old.
Okay, let's continue under updates.
As I'm sure you're all aware, the town enacted a moratorium on land use plan amendments until such time that we could take a hard look at Okeechobee and Southern Boulevards to make a determination as to whether or not there needed to be any amendments to the town's comprehensive plan related to the ultimate development of any commercial those two major roadways. At the council meeting, in the past council meeting, the moratorium was extended to the end of March, which still doesn't give us very much time in terms of making our reviews and processing any land use plan amendments that might result from that review. And along those lines, we have our first workshop is next Thursday night in this room, and we are going to be talking about.
Jim, I think it's Wednesday.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Next Wednesday, and the subject is going to be non-residential development along Oak Children. We're going to have a separate workshop for the Southern Boulevard corridor, but the date and time of that has not been determined at this time. We've advertised the workshop in the paper. It appeared in the Post and also the Crier, and we also sent out individual invitations to property owners along Okeechobee. There's been some feeling in the past on the part of the property owners that they have been sort of excluded or intimidated or whatever. So we wanted to make sure that they had specific invitations to attend, and in large part because a lot of the property owners are non-residents, not only non-residents of the town, but outside of the county and in some cases outside of the state. So that workshop will be coming up next Wednesday, 7 o'clock in this room, and of course everyone on the PZ is invited to attend as well. And that's about all I have on that. It's undecided at this point as to whether or not we're just going to have one workshop, or I guess pending the results of this first workshop, we'll make the determination as to whether or not we need to reconvene to discuss some specific issues. That's all I have on that. Unless there are any questions.
Question? All right.
Okay, and last item, I'll talk a little bit about it, but Mark may want to make a few comments on it as well. The town council, based on various complaints and discussion over the last couple of years, has decided to get into a process to review the town's land development code. And in a way of getting that started, the council named a special committee whose sole task is going to be to sit down with staff and to do a review of the ULDC. The way it's probably going to work is that the committee itself is probably going to be given the opportunity to raise some issues, but there have already been issues raised by the council, and also issues that staff is very well aware of based on its attempts to administer the code on a day-to-day basis. So we're going to be making suggestions as far as topics that need to be reviewed. And also, a year ago this summer, the council did start looking into the issue of special exceptions. There was a lot of complaints on the part of residents that the special exception process was much too costly and much too lengthy, especially for some of the relatively low impact uses like special events that require special exception approval. So that's one of the first topics that primarily because the staff have done a lot of work on that, and we can, I think, come up with some potential code revisions on a fairly timely basis. Now, the P and Z is also charged with reviewing and commenting on changes to the ULDC, so you'll have an opportunity to review the suggested revisions that the code review committee comes up with prior to the council.
I wasn't at the meeting when that was decided. Who was on that committee?
Let me cover that too. I got a couple comments I wanted to give something to Jim, and I'll get to that, Mr. Chair. Just from a historical standpoint, I want to let the P and Z know that, as Jim had indicated, the council had been looking at it, and at one point, their intended direction, their intended way of dealing with it was they were going to look at it on a case-by-case basis at every meeting, look at some sections and kind of give staff input and then go from there. However, after they reconsidered that, they decided that they wanted to go ahead and appoint this special committee with some fresh eyes to give them input. What they're going to do is council is going to, from time to time, advise staff on priority sections and things that they want us to bring to this committee so that we can, so we're going to be jumping all around the whole code. I think eventually we would like to get through the whole thing, but we're going to go on a priority basis. The key aspect of that resolution that was adopted by council establishing the board, however, is that their existence sunsets at the end of 2013. So that's when they have to finish their duties and responsibilities. So we'll probably start off, but then, if we're falling behind, they're going to probably have to have maybe 2 meetings a month, that kind of thing, so they can get it done. To answer your question, Mr. Chair, right now there are 4 members selected. We're still waiting for Councilman Liang's appointment. The 4 members that were chosen were Howard Gordon, Beck Islip, John Ryan, and Virginia Standish. Those are the current 4. What we're going to be doing is, because of that sunset provision that I mentioned, we're going to look to try to see if we can get a meeting scheduled in late December or early January where, we'll have the inaugural meeting where Mike Cirillo will come up and he'll explain to them, the sunshine law and all the requirements that they have to follow in terms of, conversations off the record about things and that kind of stuff. So he'll do that, and then if we have a chance to get, our next council meeting is until January 15th. So Councilman Liang's appointment will not be official till that time. However, if he does get us a name, we can at least have the person come to the meetings and participate, even though they won't be officially on the committee from a voting standpoint. And hopefully if we can get 2 meetings in before the 15th, that'll be great. So, by all means, if any planning and zoning board member has an issue that you think is of vital importance, please get it to me so I can work within the system and maybe try to get that in place. The other thing, as the P&Z board, your role is going to be crucial because of this sunset provision. The thought is we're not going to wait until they look at the whole code and then try to deal with a mass body of potential changes. So they may happen piecemeal, which means potentially 4 to 6 months into the process, maybe sooner, you may see some amendments coming to you on ULDC. So in turn, council can start to get those in place as long as they don't have impact on other sections and create an internal consistency within the entire document. So that's kind of the scenario and how we're going to be working it. It's going to be very labor intensive for staff. Right now, the meeting times have not been determined yet. There was some thought about it being during the day. I don't really know if that's the best use of the town's resources, time of a day for me to pack the whole afternoon on doing a meeting. But maybe they may be earlier, like maybe 4 to 6:30 instead of a nighttime meeting like you normally meet. Those are the things that we're still going to be trying to work out. So Jim and I would be happy to answer any questions you have.
If you could provide P&Z board members, with the topics or just, whatever the topics are going to be for that particular meeting.
Right.
Just so if anyone is so inclined to review those.
Right.
And, then possibly, give you any suggestions or something.
I also envision a possible report to you on a monthly basis, you know, as you have your monthly meetings, we
Yeah.
might just have that as a report, that, you know.
That'd be a
things
good
are going,
idea. Yeah.
Keep you in the loop, and that way you'll know
Yeah.
what's going on. So,
Yeah, we spend an awful lot of time writing those.
I understand.
And it's the product, the first product of getting something done that we have to get done.
Mhm.
Okay,
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
all right, so, what's coming up on the horizon, though, that you may be looking at next year? As far as land use changes and things like that?
PUD.
Yeah, that's true. We have the, you remember the two large projects at B?
Yeah.
On the east and west side. The west side were the colleges and the shopping center at the corner. And then on the east side, there's the big mixed-use project, multi-use project. It's got institutional office and retail. We had a meeting yesterday or the day before yesterday. Yesterday, yeah. Like a pre-application meeting with the two non-college projects.
And the
And
hotel's no longer in that group now. Who's taking over for,
Marty Perry is
is the attorney?
is the attorney. Brad Miller is going to be doing the site plan.
Okay.
But they both had previously submitted tentative applications under straight zoning, and I was trying to push them off until the PUD finally got approved, which it did. So they both agreed to submit under the PUD ordinance. So that's probably going to be coming in. The applications are probably going to be coming in before the end of the year, and probably coming to P&Z maybe in February is my best guess.
Any update on the referendum on the college?
Well, what I can tell you is, as you know, the committee that initiated the referendum had dropped down from 10 members to 6. And I am not aware of any new members being added. So technically, their committee, I mean, even if they are out collecting signatures, you know, I think the town would argue that those signatures don't count, because before they can count, they gotta be back up to full strength and 10 members. So the clock is ticking, and they're getting close. What was the actual date they submitted? Do you remember, off the top of your head?
Well, they're 60 days from whenever they're valid, whenever their committee is valid.
Yeah, and it's,
November 7th was the date.
yeah, so it's December 7th, so probably early in the beginning of the year, they're gonna hit their 60-day period, and they may not be able to get that off the ground.
All right.
Who are the members of the committee?
Oh, you would ask that. I know, I can tell you, Todd McClendon and his wife are still valid members. Remember anybody else? I didn't bring the list with me.
No, I didn't bring the list either.
If you want, I
Brian
can shoot you a
McNeil.
copy of the, list if you would
I
like.
just wondered.
Yeah,
Did you say Ryan Leang?
Brian McNeil.
Oh.
Is the member. Not right.
Well, that would be a shocker.
That's good personality.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the status right now.
All right. So back here in this room for the
Yes.
workshop next Wednesday?
Yeah.
And
And I'm assuming you'll be recording that, right?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
it should be entertaining.
Right.
They always are.
I will be on vacation, and I can tell you that I will be much more highly entertained.
Yeah,
Well, we're seeking input, so I'm sure we'll.
sure we will.
Yeah.
The mystery of Okeechobee. Well, if there's not any other comments from the board, I'd like to welcome Burns to the board, and I think you'll enjoy yourself, get your feet wet.
And I should add, with Mike being here at next meeting, we'll probably get you sworn in officially at that time. Mike will be with
Okay.
at that meeting, so.
All right. And,
He wasn't gonna come up today just for the report.
yeah,
Didn't make any sense to do that.
okay.
Move to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn, all approved, okay, we're adjourned. Thank you very much for coming, everyone.
Workshop next week? At the workshop.